Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the TreeTopChat. Today we're going back to English, as you may have noticed. Last week we have a very inspiring conversation with Longing Mom, Nina, who was here for about 30 minutes. We talked about her endeavors in going into this industry. If you're speaking Swedish or trying to learn Swedish, all these will be available on our YouTube channel, so you can watch them later. We have some new stuff actually. We have the new AMD in black is actually coming on the website on Monday. Already there is the gold version of the AMD from Petzl. But I suppose you haven't missed this little baby that came out yesterday actually, or the day before yesterday. It now has the crucial little CE mark on it, which means it's approved for use in Europe. Today we're going to speak to another exciting guest from the UK. We will be speaking to the founder at Bear Valley. Bear Valley is a company who, among other things, remakes some of the SIP protection chainsaw protective clothing. And they sell a lot of other stuff with their own personal twist. So the brand has grown quite a bit in the last few years and are very well known in the industry. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, Samuel, are you there?
Yeah. Can you see or hear?
Yeah. Well, I can see you, but my cameraman can see you. We can't see you, no.
Ah.
Is your camera switched on?
Yeah, should be working. I'm not too sure why it's not coming up at the moment. Let me. Don't see it. Doesn't seem to be working. Well, you try invite me again. See if that works. I'll come out in a second.
I'll do that.
How's that?
No.
That's very strange. I don't know.
Okay, I suppose we have to do it with audio only.
Yeah, no, it's very strange that I've never done a video before I've never joined another request, so I'll keep trying, see what happens, but no, yeah,
Okay.
Audio only then. How are you doing?
I'm good. And yourself? How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, very well. Still going. Busy day today.
Good. Yeah. Okay, let's get into it. We want you to, you to talk a little bit about yourself as a person. How did you get involved in the industry, and how did you personally start doing tree work?
Yeah, so before I started this, I used to be in the police force. I did that for a couple of years. Before I was in the police, I wanted, I had plans to join the industry and pursue a career in it. The police came along and it kind of took precedent over that. It was kind of join the police or be an arborist. It was kind of unique. So in about 2014, I left the police force and I joined college, which was Sparshot College in Winchester in Hampshire, which is quite a world-renowned college. And there I learned a level 3 diploma in arboriculture. And it just kind of went from there. It was always a love. It was great because you get to learn about everything to do with the trees, not just how to cut them down or how to prune them and perform work professionally. It was a lot about how trees grow and live in the ecosystem. So it was interesting. I did that for a couple of years and then obviously started to work. And then kind of the rest is history, really. I got into it and whilst I started to work, I further got into it with the brands. It was a bit of a different time back in 2014, 2015. It wasn't really a industry which was what I now personally call like a Power Ranger industry. We all love looking like Power Rangers, looking like we've all got the lovely, the clothing that is flashy and the bright colours. And Arbotech really, I think, were the ones who kind of started to pioneer that back in the day. I remember a couple of my mates wearing Arbotech trousers and we're all in high flexes and acting like it was some new space age thing with these new, different trousers. And it was kind of just eye-opening to see that the level of clothing back then, has grown so much in 5 years. And yeah, that's kind of how it all started, really.
Okay, nice. So how did the idea about Bear Valley come along? What inspired you, and where did the name come from?
So obviously the story starts. I started working for a local company. The company was with a mate and someone else who'd been more established. They were called Hamble Valley. One of the things I worked for about a year or a year and a bit, and then I just kind of, every time I was working, I found that there was no clothing that was really doing it. I'd go to Primark or other t-shirt place on the high street and get a real cheap t-shirt, because you would just go through t-shirts at a rate of knots. Like, you would be ripping them, tearing them, getting them dirty. And in the end, it just got to the stage where you just looked unprofessional. You turn up on a job, you didn't look professional because you're all in different gear. I'd have like a SoCal jumper that I'd always wear, but it was absolutely shredded. It was rubbish. And so I got to the stage where I was like, right, now let's have a think about what I could do. And I came up with the idea, right, let's make my own t-shirt. So they were called Hamble Valley. When I was working, I used to wear a Bear Grylls top. And it was like a little an explorer's top, and they always used to call me Little Bear, just to take the mickey out of me, because I'd always wear it because it was like the most breathable, comfortable t-shirt. I have a lot of family who are from Wales as well. They live in the valleys, so one thing led to another, and I just decided, right, let's call it Bear Valley. And it was kind of just almost like a bit of tongue-in-cheek joke at the company I was working with. We all got on really well, and it kind of just stuck. So that's why we're called Bear Valley.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about the clothing. How does it differentiate from other brands in the industry?
Well, it's different. I've obviously never been through any processes through any other companies. I've never done this before. I didn't study fashion. I didn't ever do anything like that. And when I designed the clothing, like I said about going to a cheap t-shirt manufacturer like Primark or anywhere on the high street which could give you a t-shirt for a few pounds, I decided that I've had enough. Let's make a t-shirt which is designed to be worked in. So the flagship product, which was the Exo Ranger t-shirt, it was born out of a purpose and the ergonomic reasons we're in a tree. And everything around that. So, I came up with the idea and the design of having a longer body, so it doesn't come out your chainsaw trousers when you're reaching up, because all the time you'd never have a t-shirt long enough. The t-shirts would get caught on stubs or anything that was sharp and sticking out. It was always just a case of you were fighting with the tree. You were fighting with everything around you, and it was making your job harder, and you didn't realize it. Imagine tucking yourself in every time you reached out. It was just taking that time away from thinking about the work itself. So it was born out of a reason, and my clothing has always been a reason. There's a reason I make a jacket or made the hoodie or made the t-shirt. Even with the hoodies, they've got zip pockets and they've got no kangaroo pouches with no drawstrings, because until now, please, at me in the comments if there is another hoodie that does it, but there's been no hoodie that doesn't have a drawstring, which is dangerous when you put things through the chipper. So they've been designed for arborism. Being an arborist, working in forestry, that is what the clothing is for. And how does it differ? It's got my kind of ideas and what I wanted to see from a t-shirt. So it's been an interesting journey to see what other companies have come up with. I wouldn't ever call another competitor a competitor. I get on with everyone, but in the industry, I like to see what everyone's doing, and I like to think that what I provide is different and unique in a positive way. So that's kind of the story behind that.
That's very interesting. So what was the process, when you did this, from the start until today? How did you, how has the company expanded, and, how's that process been?
So for about a year and a half, I obviously had I made the first batch of 100 t-shirts, and a lot of people have heard the story, but I was at the 2016 ARB show. I had a new baby, so she was a few months old, and we had 100 t-shirts under a pram, and I was just trying to sell the t-shirts to anyone that would speak to me. It was still very new. It was kind of one of those things, really. I just thought, oh, let's have a go. You know, I've committed now, so let's see how far we can take it. 100 t-shirts sold out, and then I had to get another 200 and did the same thing, and then it went to 400, and then you kind of got yourself this cult following of, I've got customers from the start who have always been there with me, and you know, they vouch for the t-shirt they've been wearing. They've still got the same 100 or the first 200 t-shirts, and it's great to see. You know, the involvement came through things like, you know, you're working all day and then you'd go home and you'd fulfill 2 or 3 t-shirt orders. It kind of got to the stage after a year and a half where I was able to then provide printed clothing as well. So I was able to offer blank workwear with a local printer in the area who was then able to print onto my t-shirts. Okay. What it allowed to do was the customer to have their name and their company on their shirt. And again, I think it's helped spur on my company as a whole, because it's allowed for people to take that logo and the company name, which they probably wouldn't have trusted before. You get a product like the Bear Valley t-shirt, you also get a service which they would have had to have taken elsewhere. And then it just allows for you to provide 2 in 1, basically. A lot of people have said, I wouldn't have bothered, but you do both, and I wanted that to happen, which is then in turn allowed for people to go, well, I really like that t-shirt, I'm going to buy another one. And that's kind of how it grew. From that point forward, I invested money into jackets, so developing a jacket which was completely bespoke for the industry. And it kind of, like, again, it's grown from there, investment, growth, and so forth, until it's become a full-time job now. I employ an old friend of mine from school. We work full-time, doing orders and everything. It's still a very small operation, to the fact is I am absolutely everything. I do a lot, apart from my accounts now. So everything is still me. The growth has been very quick. It's been a very interesting journey, but I've never experienced it, and it's been strange. You know, one minute you're working up a tree, and the next minute you're doing, you know, HR or doing payroll, paying out invoices. So it's a very new experience, but it's been fun, and it's been a learning curve.
Nice. Very nice. You also have a new ambassador in Sweden, Matthias Hultman, and we will also be stocking some of your products as of next week, maybe. So how do you view the Swedish market or the Nordic market, you know, going forward?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest challenges in this industry, or I say challenges, one of the biggest hurdles, I would say, is how the UK kind of is very different to a lot of Europe, of America. It's very unique. We have quite a few brands based here, and it seems to be more of the unique clothing brands at the moment. I think between myself and a couple of others, you know, we've operated from here, we've gone forward. That's not to say, obviously, people from other countries, like Matthias, he's been there from the start, and he's been a great customer, and, you know, he's turned into a good friend. We talk a lot, and he's a great ambassador for Bear Valley. How it differs, I think there's a lot of different cultural aspects. I believe that the homeowner, the commercial side of things, you know, we have very different laws, and that sort of, you know, it affects the tree work. You know, even down to high visibility clothing. Do you wear plain clothing? So it's definitely a learning curve. I think the biggest challenge is to have the colorways, because when I was working with Paul from Sit Protection, when we developed the chainsaw trousers, the first color that Paul gave to me was bright red and yellow, and I looked at him and I said, nah. I was like, that's not for the British market. We don't want bright red and yellow. You know, that's not what we're about. And Paul's like, well, it sells really well in Europe, but that's not the same over here. And it's those differences in, you know, culture and how you guys see arborism. So yeah, there is a big difference. And my main like focus and idea behind Bear Valley is that there's no barriers. Like, I call Matthias a ambassador, but in theory, anyone can be an ambassador. I don't expect anything from him. You know, he does a great job on his own. Like I just said to him, look, you've been there from the start. You've been a great friend. You know, you were doing everything for me without me even asking you. You deserve to have spotlight. You know, you're a great guy. Everyone loves your Instagram. You know, if you want to push Bear Valley, give you my full grace. And that's kind of what my idea behind Bear Valley is that it's a brand for arborists. You know, we are the Valley. You know, that is what we are. Well, I want the whole world in Bear Valley because it's a product which is worthy, and it's been shown the test of time. It's a new product that's come out of places, and I have a lot of trust in my customers, and they do in my product. So that type of push into Europe has been absolutely fantastic, and it's still very small. And you know, through the growth of, you know, like yourself, stocking Bear Valley, it's a great step forward because, you know, you've got your customers and your trust. And when your countrymen and everyone else in the Nordic sort of scene says, oh, actually, you know, we mean business now, that will help push Bear Valley. So it's all really positive and great stuff. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, to be making even more clothing in the future.
So yeah, absolutely, I agree. You know, so do we. Very valid points there. You know, you've been doing all this. You know, you said, you know, you're doing HR, payroll, you're packing orders, you're you know, doing designs and everything. So, what tip would you give to anyone who's looking to start their own company?
Oh, it's been a journey. The biggest tip, if you ever got into clothing, money is a big one. Things are very, there's always a minimum order. When you get your minimum order, you don't think about storage, and then you've got to store it places. And then when you do store it places and it starts to sell, you've then got to pack and post it. And then you've got to think about taxes. So it gets to the stage where all these great ideas you had at the start, they have consequences and actions, and those actions at the end are something that you kind of probably would think about first before the greatness that you thought of at the start. I tell you what, if I was to do this again, I probably wouldn't even think about it. But, you know, I've been lucky. I've been, you know, blessed with the way that Bear Valley has taken off. You know, if anyone wants to get into the industry, and you know, we do see it all the time with people bringing out their own uniqueness, and it's absolutely fantastic to see because it's such a small industry and it will only grow bigger and bigger. I encourage everything. My biggest ethos has been, I'm not a competitor to anyone. I want to work with brands in the industry. I will work together. You know, I've done my bit with DMM and SIP protection, and I've got other big things on the horizon with other people. And it's not about being against people. We're all a small industry. You know, there's room for all of us here. And actually, as a consumer, someone who was an arborist, I can't think of anything better than having two of the brands I love work on a project together. So, you know, if you're going to go for it in the future and someone else has an idea, yeah, I'll wholeheartedly go for it. But, you know, there is a lot of logistics behind the scenes which could cause you a little bit of sleepless nights and headaches.
Yeah, tell me about it. I know everything about that, running this store here. So
Yeah.
you know, in terms of differentiation, you have also recently developed a hydration drink, which almost looks like a pre-workout. You know, tell us about, you know, how that came about.
Yeah. So I mean, as a younger person, you know, I'm 28. I kind of grew up with Red Bull, Monster, all of these other energy drinks. I confess, I'm an addict to these things. I love them. I will drink them, and kind of the idea behind this was not. This isn't a generic energy drink. This isn't something that's bad for you. I say bad for you. This isn't just another Monster or Red Bull. This is something which is so simple as an idea, which has never been touched by any company that I'm aware of in this industry. We as an industry are a group of superior athletes to the fact you're working 8 to 9 hours a day, absolutely destroying your body working. And it was always a way of trying to bring Bear Valley to the forefront of relevancy and what are we bringing to this industry that makes us different. And it's just a no-brainer. So it's a hydration formula. It's hot in the UK at the moment, or well, it was anyway. We've had lots of cloud. But this time of year, for all of Europe, it's been very hot. And what this hydration formula is, I've got a nice little card in front of me. You can't see it, but I'm going to read from the card just for a second. It's a formula which allows for healthy drink, which will allow you to have mental cognitive ability, which really is something that you lose when you're dehydrated. And when you're dehydrated because you've been working, it's hot, you're sweating, the chainsaw trousers weigh a kilo. Everything about the job means that you've lost water, minerals, and salts. This is basically a formula that you put into a shaker, and it replaces those. It replaces the minerals and everything lost. Bottom line is, if you are dehydrated and you're working with heavy machinery, chainsaws, which we all do all day, every day, then your risk of hurting yourself greatly increases. You're dizzy. You could be, mentally not all 100% there at the time. So there's a new study. It's called Nootropics, and it's basically just how the brain and the ingredients get to the brain and how it all works. It's a bit boring, to be honest. It's just very good stuff. We've got guava, green tea, ginseng root, taurine, caffeine, all of these sorts of stuff with funny names and words after it, which does, it's just a positive drink. And that's what it's for. It's the start of Bear Valley dipping its toe into the introduction of food supplements and anything else that we get into the future with food and drink. And it just seems such a logical step. We spend a lot of time working constantly, and no one's ever thought, well, what do these guys need? They need fuel for their bodies. In the morning, we used to stop and we used to get petrol. The first thing I'd used to get was a Monster Red Bull energy drink. We used to get some cakes. And you didn't mind because you knew for a fact you were going to have the hardest day, and you had you've taken down a conifer in the back garden and there's no side access for a chipper, and you've got to take a couple tons of log out to the back. Then you've had a workout, a whole day of working. So that's the idea behind the hydration formula and the way forward and what the future could bring with that, because there's a huge market there. And I'm very excited to be pioneering it, spearheading that.
I totally agree. We have a question here. It's from Matthias Rothman, who asks, how do you feel seeing people wear Bear Valley on Instagram and Facebook?
It's always been very surreal. You get more used to it as it goes on, but it's just humbling. You see your brand next to biggest brands that have been going since the 30s. You've got your Still and your Husqvarna, and they're wearing chainsaw trousers or jackets, but then they take the jacket off, or there's a picture and you've got your t-shirt on, and it's very humbling. It's lovely to see. Genuinely, it's an experience which, I don't know, unique, isn't it? You've created something and people are so keen on it, and they love it, they'll wear it, and it's around the world. It is odd, especially when I go and I see it on countries that aren't necessarily my own domestic market, or even Europe. When I see it in America or Japan or anywhere, it's very, very surreal. So it's an honor, really, that everyone would want it to wear it.
I hope we will see what's that? How do you feel with others? So how do you feel? This relationship can. The cameraman is a little bit unclear here, but we'll continue. So, so how do you see the future of Bear Valley? What is next?
I mean, as you can probably see, I as a person and an individual would like to push Bear Valley to be one of the leading brands in the industry. I want it to be something that people can trust, go to, and ultimately, almost be a one-stop shop for anything they could potentially need. There's so many other avenues to explore with it. I would very much like for it to be as successful as the other industry leaders at the moment. I want it to be up there next to them. I don't want to be underneath them. I would like to be stood there tall, right next to them, and that type of mutual respect that everyone gives in the industry. Ultimately, in a short-term goal, I'd like people to think, instead of the question, who are Bear Valley? Oh, well, I like Bear Valley. That's the short term. And the long term is, obviously, I'd like to be here in the next 15, 20 years.
Nice. So in terms of going back to, what you did before you were kind of an entrepreneur, building your own brand. So when you were climbing,
Yeah.
what is this is a kind of a standard question we have. What is your favorite piece of gear ever, excluding, of course, then their Bear Valley product?
For climbing and working, I always used to find, I always had a little fold-out silky. I do apologise. I never knew the name of the silky. It was just it was a little fold-out silky. I'd tuck it in my little high-flex trousers, and the bits of kit were incredible. They were, instead of lugging up potentially a chainsaw, I know it was a little bit different. You'd sometimes just get the silky out. It was easier to manoeuvre, and that was always nice. I mean, on the ground, some of the best bits of kit I've ever used. I've been doing a lot of milling, so using the Alaskan mill with the 661 with a nice big 36-inch bar. We've been doing loads and loads of work, and it's very, very simple and elegant. But a chainsaw mill, there's nothing like it. As soon as you start working with the wood, and you start producing beams or planks, and that for me is one of the most intuitive bits of kit going. It turns a piece of waste wood potentially, or a trunk of tree, into artisanal piece of work, or you can get money. It's a domestic job, and you're able to produce a couple beams, and the finished product in that is fantastic. And you can't ever get a cut freehand. You have to use the mill, and the Alaska mill is what we used. I know there's other versions as well, but it was always just a fantastic and a great bit of kit to use.
Nice. So we have another question here. It's actually from Maggie, who's our guest next week. But she's asking, when is the Bear Valley gear bag coming out to the market?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I developed that a long time ago. It's basically a 70-litre holdall, which has got a new capacity which again I don't think has ever been done. Is basically a little holder for your spikes. That is potentially being released in about a month's time, so it's all being made. I know COVID has slowed everything down. I had a long time where I developed it and wasn't able to purchase it because I had other bits and pieces in the pipeline, but it's definitely on its way and it's coming. So it'll be probably August time, probably mid-August.
Okay, nice. So we're looking forward to that. So going into some other questions here. Give us your funniest job story from Bear Valley.
So
laughing already.
We're quite tame, to be honest. There's not much funny stories that go on. Half the time I just worked on my own, so to sit there and say it was funny was almost a bit of a weird thing to say. I suppose back in 2017, me and Chopper Tom, we went over to France to watch some of the climbing. So it was in Paris Theory. We went there. We just decided, we'll have a go. So we went over in his car, and it was, I don't know, we were like the only British people there. And as you probably well know, a stereotypical British gentleman likes to drink. And so we sat there one time and we were on our own. We had these big bean bags at the end of one of the days. And me and Tom sat there with a cool box full of beer, just sat on our own, and there was no one around us. We were just literally little outcasts on this field on our own, drinking out of this big cool box. We must have looked like an absolute sight. And we were probably one of the only British people there. And we kind of just sunk home the fact that, oh yeah, we do drink a lot, don't we? So it was kind of, you saw your stereotypical self in that, and everyone else was sort of doing their own thing. It was a bit of a different culture clash, but other than that, I mean, we don't just nothing's. We're all serious here at Bear Valley. It's serious work. So
that's good to hear. We're looking forward to some more products coming out in the future.
Definitely, yeah.
So well, I think we're approaching the end of this. Is there any more questions from the audience? No, not at this point. So we're looking forward to get that shipment over next week, so we can add those products to our website, and hopefully we will see some more Instagram or Facebook pictures with Bear Valley clothing going forward here during the summer.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be really great to get that over there, especially with that market. It'd be really lovely to see that really take off.
Yeah, very nice. So do we. Yeah, so I think we'll call this the end. So thank you everyone for watching. Thanks for joining. We really appreciate that you're taking your time to see these little episodes on Friday afternoons, Friday nights. So as mentioned, we will be stocking some of the products. So if you're interested, you can visit our website on Tuesday. We should have them up. Next week, we'll be speaking to Maggie, who is a Norwegian arborist. She's relatively new to the industry, and she works with a great Norwegian company called En mot tre. That was my best Norwegian. So be sure to tune in for that next week. Until then, have a very nice weekend, everybody. See you next week. Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Samuel.
No problem. See you later. Bye.
Have a nice weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.